Hello, it's great to see all of you once again. Today we will be looking at competition, cooperation and communication in the series, The Law of Karma, Destiny and Choice. So if these subjects are of interest to you, I'd invite you to sit back and enjoy the next half an hour with us. Hello, Sister Denise.
Hello, Magla.
Pleasure to have you back in the studio with us.
Thank you.
Each of these three words have definitive meanings, and yet they also have an impact as far as the law of karma is concerned. Let's start with the first one, competition. Is there such a thing from a karmic perspective, such as healthy competition?
Definitely, healthy competition is excellent. You need to have healthy competition, and the world is a competition. It's a game. The game is a competition. You want to win, and winning is called success. But the world is also called a game of success and failure. So then how you relate to competition and how you act around that subject will actually dictate what kind of success or failure you get. So you need to be very smart about that. Some people, they desire success and they think that they are not so qualified as others. They may be jealous that the other person might get success because you compete against someone. Because of jealousy, entering into the game of competition, you will do something to cause harm to that person so that they are pushed out of the game or knocked out, or you will cause them injury, or you will kill them, or you will send bad stories about them so that they are diminished in their capacity to compete with you, and it's no longer a level playing field. That's unhealthy competition.
There are those individuals who treat their other competitors with malice.
They don't understand that competition can actually be a win-win situation. You're not competing in such a way that somebody else loses. You're competing to win, and if you have a very good competitor against whom to compete, you raise the quality of, maybe you can say, the product. Say you're in business, you compete with another, you make a better product, and then people will buy that better product from you rather than the other one. But if you try to destroy the other person, you don't have to make a better product. And so then the general public is getting deprived of what could be their benefit from your healthy competition. So that would be karmically negative.
Let's talk about cooperation. When one chooses to offer another a helping hand, what is the return of that? Before we get there, what is the spiritual definition of cooperation?
I think, to me, cooperation is like this. The task at hand, making the world a better place, is much greater than any one or small group of individuals can handle. And so therefore, you cannot really get the task accomplished unless you work together with other people. And in spiritual practice, we call what I do Sahaj Raj Yoga, which also means that you're doing spiritual practice in the context of other people. And part of spiritual practice involves service. So service to humanity means that you work together with people to make the world a better place. Now, if you are competitive in an unhealthy way, if you are us and them type of person, then you will never cooperate with other people, but you will see them as your enemies. And then overall the result will be not so good, and from your karmic account point of view, being unwilling to cooperate puts you in a negative account. So cooperating with other people is very good for your development of good skills, negotiation skills, skills of arriving at consensus in order to work with people. You can actually bring yourself into a very high leadership position through being a good example of cooperation and getting the people who work with you to cooperate with each other. You know, there are some people, they want power, and so all the people under them, they set them against each other. This is a very negative karma. Nothing can happen like that, you know. You have to be aware that when you become an instrument for other people to rise, that makes you rise. If you become an instrument for other people to fall or be unable to rise, that makes you fall, because your fundamental motivation is greed and arrogance and fear.
That last part was deep. Communication and the law of karma. Communication, is it one of those things that you either have or don't have?
I think there is that, but it's also a very important skill to learn. In some cultures, secrecy is considered good communication.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, don't say anything, no one should know anything. Excuse me, that's going to be very difficult, because you have to guess, and you may well guess wrong, you know. Or sometimes you get people who are seriously impaired in their ability to fulfill their function, social function, or their work function, because they don't have information. Myself, I am a big picture person, and I will not and cannot function unless I see the whole picture. But not everybody's like that. They are happy with a little bit of information. Some people operate on the basis of need to know. They will tell you what they think you need to know, but if they tell me what they think I need to know, they haven't understood me. I need to know the whole thing, and then I can fit myself into it. But I'm not a pawn in anybody's game. Many people are. Chess is a very interesting symbol for politics, how political life works, and life in society is anyway the body politic. It is politics, and you just have to understand how you fit and where you fit, and you also need to be able to read others. If you want to achieve something great, good level communication is essential, but people are not very skilled in that, are not very skilled in reading people, don't have very good social skills. This is a big thing that needs to be learned. And one thing about communication is it differs vastly from culture to culture, from class to class, and if you want to have a wide spectrum communication, you need to be very aware of how other people operate, and don't imagine everybody operates the same way as you, because everybody functions differently. And a good communicator knows how to connect with a person, resonate with the person, read the person, engage the person, feel the person, and then move forward. And this is a skill that maybe you have naturally, but there are many ways to cultivate and develop that. So communication, good communication, can be considered as a really good virtue.
When we look at all three aspects of today's discussion, competition, cooperation, and communication, one's sense of self-worth is quite deeply tied in that, is it not?
It is. And you know, I know people who have really been damaged by the unhealthy competitive behavior of others. Because you see, if somebody damages you or uses bribery to get a win rather than their skill, you see, it makes that loser feel really bad, because they just don't want to play that game anymore. They don't want to participate because it is deeply dishonest, and they don't want anything to do with it, which means that that capacity they had, which could, bring them the glory and recognition that is due to them is undercut by the malice and violent behavior of competitors who don't have what it takes to win. And all these things make the world all upside down and inside out and backwards, and create a lot of confusion for people. I think this is part of the state of the world when the laws of entropy have reached their maximum and everything is falling apart. So your sense of self-worth has to be based on something else.
What do you mean, something else?
Well, normally your sense of self-worth is connected with your achievements.
Yeah, and your talents, and also how you were made to feel growing up as a child.
All these things. So you may have talents, but if you're insulted because of those talents, or you're told, oh, well, you just want to be famous, or these various different false motivations are imputed to you, especially because they want to cut you down. You need to be very savvy to deal with this, and it will be coming from your childhood. People who are highly gifted have to grapple with this a great deal because they're usually not understood or badly misunderstood. So when you engage in spiritual practice, it may take a while to really realize what you are and who you are, and why everybody doesn't like you is because you have what they want, and they're jealous and they hate you because they don't have what you have, so they want to destroy you. And then you start feeling that you're nothing, that you're worthless, etc., etc. So you put yourself down. Then when you start to realize what game is being played, then you need to do the work to bring yourself back up to where you properly belong, except that your condition and position has nothing to do with external functionality or success, but it's because you know what you are and who you are internally, and you bring yourself up. And then you can start to perform in the world where you are actually competitive, because you know how to handle the people who undercut you. And there's a big trial, but you do end up as the leader that you were intended to be, but with much greater wisdom, understanding, and probably humility.
Yeah, if one manages these 3 C's effectively, one can become quite an effective and powerful leader, can't one?
I believe so. And the problem with being a leader, if you haven't gone through all of this stuff, is you become very arrogant. And there are many, many stories and many instances and things that I have observed that if a person rises too high too quickly, they're very vulnerable to arrogance, they're vulnerable to something that, makes them fall. So in a way, it's really better to rise slowly, because along the way you pick up a lot of expertise, experience, wisdom, you understand what it's about, and you have enough humiliations and bad situations that protects you from this success, great success, going to your head. And if you're arrogant, then you will damage other people.
I cannot end today's discussion without asking you how one's ego impacts in one's ability to communicate, whether or not one cooperates, and one's sense of competition.
It impacts incredibly.
Also,
if you have ego and you're competing with someone and they're better than you, that ego will get you to try to undercut them. Why do you want to eliminate the competition? Because if they win, your ego is smashed, and you don't want that. Actually, it's good for you, but you don't want to let that happen. Communication, you will not open yourself up and show your vulnerabilities. Your ego doesn't allow that. So you will be a bad communicator if you have a lot of ego. You will lie, you will withhold information, you will manipulate, all of this because of ego, because you always want to have the upper hand. You're not interested in truth, you're interested in being higher than the others. And that means it's very difficult for you to cooperate with anyone, because cooperation means somebody's higher, you're higher, you can move. Very few people can work with peers. You're up, they're down, or you're down, somebody's up. Ego people can work with that, because ego is about a flip-flop between superiority and inferiority. But somebody who's in their self-awareness, in their power, only they can work with peers. And this is often mentioned in spiritual study.
What is?
That very few people can work with their peers, because it takes overcoming your ego.
I'm thinking about an expression I once heard as far as competition is concerned. The person that feels the worst at the Olympic Games is the silver medalist.
Probably, yeah, the silver medalist.
Yeah, it's
I'm
the
number
worst.
2. You just don't want to be number 2.
So let's look at all three aspects from the perspective of the awareness that I am a soul. How does it impact on the way I communicate, the way I cooperate, and how I compete with others?
It's a very deep kind of consciousness. You think, I am a soul. You don't know which soul you are. You don't know which soul the other people are. Every soul is equally a soul, but every soul is individual. And it is said in spiritual study that every soul has a number, but you don't know what your number is. So you don't really know if you're higher or lower or what, vis-a-vis another person. So there are a number of spiritual principles that you learn, which actually ensure that whatever you do takes you high, because people want to be high. So if you cooperate, and you know well how to take cooperation and give cooperation, this takes you high. If you refuse to cooperate when it's needed, that takes you low. If you behave incorrectly in a competition situation, you don't know how to be a good loser, that takes you low. Just winning a competition doesn't take you high. It's how you win, how you handle your victory. Are you sharing the fruits of your victory with others? All of this counts.
That's actually quite interesting, because I'm thinking of another well-known English expression. It's situational ethics. Does the end justify the means? So when you said how, that prompted the thought in my mind. So that's very interesting, Denise. Tell us more about the how. Most individuals, when it comes to competition, for example, just aim to be the best. However I get there, doesn't matter. When it comes to communication, I am getting my message across to you right now. It doesn't matter what tone I use or whether I use profanities or not. My main aim is to get my message across. And you are placing emphasis on how.
Yes.
That is so important. And many don't know that, and don't know how that relates to one's karmic return. Take us through that and talk slow.
You may win something, but you're not the only one who brought you to that place. If you're a sports person, you had a coach. If you didn't have a good coach, you would not have won. You had supportive parents and family. If you didn't have that, you may not have won. So you're standing on the shoulders of many people. If you don't acknowledge them, that would be negative karma, because it is your duty to acknowledge all the people who are part of that win. And you often see it with people who win the Oscars in Hollywood for their performance in film. They will always say, I want to thank my agent and my mum and my dad and my friends and all of this. And this is a custom, but you really need to understand that your success is not because only of you. And if you want to communicate to someone and you don't take into consideration your tone, you don't just want to send the communication, you want to make the person open to receiving it. So if you send the communication with knives or violence or whatever, the person will hear it, but they're not interested in acting on it, because you're setting up somebody who they don't care about you, they don't respect you, they don't recognize your authority because you are insulting them in the way that you're communicating, and so they will feel resentment.
What is the price one pays for hurting another person on any level?
I think
within the context of today's discussion.
If you hurt someone, you will lose them. They will just walk out, or they will hurt you back. Take revenge. You know, causing harm means negative karma, and the consequences will come back. Either they will ignore you and walk away, and you left, oh please, please. I said, no, go away. What is this? Or they will stick it to you back, you know, because it's reciprocal. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, you know, that works in the laws of karma.
It does?
Well, it does, because you may not exact justice, as they say, but the energy of karma is such that if you do something to harm someone in a particular way, you will receive harm somehow or the other through some means in that same particular way. So the law of karma is called an ineluctable thing you cannot escape. And it's an equal and opposite return. So need to know about karma. Otherwise, you operate at your peril.
God. Yes, competition doesn't quite figure here, but cooperation with the divine and communication with the divine. Can one cooperate with God? And if so, how? I take it that the word yoga that you've used throughout the series means communication with God. Take us through that.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually take out the word competition, because
one can compete with God.
It is recommended.
Sorry, what?
God suggests, you know, if you want to compete with anyone, compete with me, because I will definitely up your game, because you can never win against God.
That's like playing chess against the computer.
Yeah.
Up your game. I never would have upping your game. Well, that takes the upping and game to a whole new level. It's mind-blowing.
It's amazing. And it also means that it takes you away from damaging other humans.
That's fresh.
That's very good
fresh.
Karma, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And cooperating with God is really very good, because there is a task. God has a task, and that is to bring the world from its current chaotic and fallen apart situation to a balanced state where nature is in order, where people are virtue-based, they're in their power, everyone is spiritually complete, and they're in their best possible condition. And God is called the Creator, which means, you know, creation is always described as taking the chaos and making it into heaven. So we have quite enough chaos to require some attention. And it's completely outside the range of any human or government or whatever to do anything about what's going on in the world today. It's catastrophic. And even the media tries to not let people know how bad it is, but it's pretty bad. What you can do to cooperate with God in his task is become his student, because then he will tell you, I need this from you, this from you, this from you. I need you to be a conduit for me. I need you to be an example of what is balanced interpersonal relationship. I need you to show how to use money. I need you to demonstrate how to apply the philosophy of karma accurately. This is cooperation. And communication with God is have a relationship with God, talk to him, commune with him, be someone who is living with God in the world, regardless of what the situation is. You bring something very beautiful into the world and into your own life, and it gives you the power to handle any and all karmic consequences of whatever negative things you have done. This is all of this, you're ahead.
On that note, we will bid you farewell. So thank you. Very interesting conversation. So there you go. If this is something that you haven't thought of before, I urge you to do so. I think the deepest message that I got today from Sister Denise is it doesn't just matter what you do, but how you do it. A very interesting secret of the law of karma. Thank you, Sister Denise. Many blessings.
Thank you.
And many blessings to you back home. We will see you again for the next episode. Take care. Bye.